So it's great to be with the whole professor. And then I hope we have a brilliant and decent discussion this morning.
Of course.
So let me say good morning to our viewers out there, and that we've often said we cherish their contributions and so on. It makes the program very rich. It makes us also learn from them. We are also learning from them if they don't know. And they're also learning from us. It's quid pro quo type of issue. So I'm glad I'm on this platform.
Thank you. Mr. Philip London will be joining us, I hope so, very soon. But let's start today's conversation. We are going back to Nigeria, where we understand that some 20,000 persons have fled an insurgency hit town. So we are going to Maiduguri this morning, and we understand that at least 20,000 people have fled Mate town following increasing attacks by Islamist militants in Nigeria's northeastern Borno state. Its governor has said 4 years after residents returned to the town that was once controlled by insurgents. And it's a long story, but of course we all know the issues relative to Nigeria, especially when it comes to insecurity. It has been rife over there. There are a lot of happenings. You'd be here in Ghana, and you'd hear that some militants have gone to bomb a church. There's some friction between insurgents and the people. People are being kidnapped. Of course, we do remember Boko Haram as well, where girls were kidnapped for many years. When they were returned, some of them had even given birth to kids for these, insurgents. And so issues relative to insecurity in Nigeria particularly is known to all of us. And so I'll straight away go to Honorable Atabuade to share his thoughts with us on the latest developments in Nigeria, Africa's most populous country.
Yes. Let me once again say that good morning to our viewers and to ourselves here. Yes, 20,000 flee from Nigeria. Which state?
That's Maiduguri.
Maiduguri.
Yeah.
And it has not been the first time they've been taken off from Maiduguri. Maiduguri has been the center of most insurgents activities within the West African sub-region, especially in Nigeria where they are located. And we, those around the West Coast, for that matter Africa, cannot run away from the dangers of insurgency and its consequences on the people that it affects wherever they are found. And especially between Nigeria and then Ghana, it's just like traveling from here to Kintampo or Tamale. We are almost like neighbors, and the Nigerians find refuge, and they find so much peace when they are here, just like Ghanaians do. We have a lot of our population there. We cannot even say for sure that even those who flee, the 20,000 that flee from Maiduguri, whether they will not be Ghanaians there too. There's the possibility that they are not only Nigerians, and they are even other West African people. Because wherever you are located on this globe, where there's no peace, where life is at threat, life and property is at threat, you obviously find yourself gallivanting from one state to another in terms of securing your life and peace and so on. But you see, most of these things, you look at the historical antecedent. Yesterday, I picked an Uber driver, and he was lamenting about how the Togolese president, HEADMAN, has gradually ingratiated himself into, if you call it, a life leader by the way he has changed the constitution to suit his whims and caprices, just to perpetuate power. And we're talking, and then we related it to the Ibrahim Traore of Cote d'Ivoire, and the guy was giving me some suggestions. I enjoyed the ride and then the discussions. But you see, now who calls them? Sometimes these our democratic leaders who come under the guise of democracy and turn around to even be worse than the worst military government you can think of. It's the cause of these things. No human being would want to live under pressure, especially when you are working hard to earn a decent income. Then you find the government that you voted into power subjugate you with taxes, with laws, with inhuman treatment, with disrespect, with tribal bigotry. And that when it does that, what do the human spirit do? You resist it. So at the point of resistance, you do not even care who resists. be they even insurgents, be they within the political party or the party itself, you are waiting to see a system that makes life and property safe and peace for the growing number of our kids and so on. If you check well, you will have seen that if the demography comes, you will have seen that those who are flying from these dangerous states are mostly women and children who are the vulnerable in our society. And that is the creme de la creme of our society, because, look, you cannot take away from the fact that the youth are our future leaders. We must take good care. They need to attend schools. They need to have peace to learn. They need to sit in infrastructure that befits them. They need to have food and nutrition, shelter, clothing, and protection. But if you find a democratically elected president who comes under the guise of democracy and turn his regime into a near or absolute rule, then the people will resist. We are moving from. So for me, looking at all this and look at the antecedent, the history to which we went, I was not happy at the time the Boko Haram started. I said, Nigeria cannot nip these people in the bud. Nigeria of all people, but go behind the scenes and you see that there are political elements or actors behind these people, because probably for a long time they've not had power and so on. We have had a near situation here where we've had political actors even calling for something to happen so that people will lose power. Look, let me now cite very good examples. Look, in the year 2000, when Rawlings was in power, we had a situation where even dead bodies were transported and put in various areas, and people came mourning the dead bodies, yet they had no relationship with them, creating a state of insecurity, creating a state that the government was, the security of the state was not protecting the people of this country, because people wanted power. It eventually made the Rawlings government at the time very unpopular. Very, very unpopular. I remember even at the time I was at the University of Ghana, I got cringe. I said, I was very young. I said, but who are those killing the people in this country like that? Hide as a day pass. So the opposition elements have also become a platform when they feel that the route to winning power is so narrow and has been close to their getting access to it. They get in link with these insurgents, be they local or international, to maneuver on their behalf. At the end of the day, what is power for? Power is for the people, and power emanates from the people. Once we begin to understand that power emanates from the people, and the ultimate power is for the people to enjoy, then we as leaders and political leaders must act in accordance and in conformity with the law that brought the people into power. But you see, even in Ghana here, before these elections, things were going wrong. And look, there were a lot of maneuvers here in Ghana here before these elections. I remember Professor Raymond Atubiga, the dean of the Faculty of Law, coming out to say that he has information that they were planning to overthrow the Akufo-Addo's government, and so on. We continue to hear daily, if you call it, unconfirmed reports. And even the president at the time himself came and literally begged that they should allow him to finish his term. We heard Dr. Nyaho Tamakulu talking about coup was right and so on. Why was coup right under a democracy? Where did the government go wrong there? Were the government so belligerent? Were they listening? Were they responding to the needs of the people? Were they doing things arbitrarily? Was that what the people voted for? And if we hadn't taken time and this democracy had fallen, it would have been disastrous. Look, people don't know how these things turn out. People, even your own political party, who are disgruntled, you call them the fifth columnist. They act against the establishment of the day, the fifth columnists within the political party. They act against the establishment of the day, because they do not even, what they themselves join the political party to win. Their objectives, their manifesto. They found out that when they are completely different from what those who are in the helm of affairs are implementing. So not just the ordinary people, not the population that did not also contributed to the win of that political party. But even those who contributed to it become so disillusioned, become so much frustrated. What do they do? If they can, you know what they do? They even join a political opposition that they know they'll win the party in order to get their own political parties out of power so that they can regroup or reorganize their political party and take the party into their hands. If we don't begin Africa to look at what young people like Ibrahim Traore is doing, he's trying to bring life to the doorstep of the people. And you see, coup d'etats, yes, they are coup d'etats. They are brought by the barrel of the gun. But they can also be a democratic element within it when the generality of the population supports it. If there's a coup d'etat and over 80% supports it, it is no more absolutism. It is no more by the barrel of the gun, but it's about the wishes of the people and aspirations that resonates well with that coup d'etat. So the coup makers become comfortable and they're even protected. Look, I was discussing with a friend, I said, it will come a time. If Ibrahim Traore continues with this way, the people themselves will protect him. If Ibrahim Traore continues this way, no coup will come. You know what? When the coup comes, the people will rise again and immediately ask for reinstatement. We've seen it. Look at Rajapaksa in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, he was elected and he turned the place into his own style of ruling. The people went with their weapons and removed him. A helicopter picked him from the presidential palace out. We can cite several examples where the power of the people is more than nuclear weapons and atomic energy. You understand? So for me, it's a lesson, and I hope our brothers in Nigeria would continue to collaborate within the West African sub-region to ensure that these insurgents are flushed out completely. They've made life ungovernable for the ordinary citizen in Nigeria. I've been traveling to Nigeria. The last time was in Abuja, a lovely place. The time I used to go, the food was so cheap. Now things have become very expensive in Nigeria because of all these things. So for me, I'm hoping that it's not just our brothers in Nigeria who are facing this hardship and the challenges of insurgency. It's lacking around our borders if we don't also take issues that the people feel that they are part of the government. Let the people feel part of the governance and we see how it goes. This is just my take on it.
Right, thank you very much, Honorable Timothy Awontere Matabwade. Let me hear from you, Prof.
Good morning again, good morning to you, viewers, your listeners as well. I'm a good friend. Good morning once again. Nigeria crisis is a wake-up call. And we think that Ghana must invest in community policing and strengthen our youth in terms of employment. Before I delve into the issues, I think let me digress a bit and talk about something important to me, then I can come back to this. In fact, I must commend this administration for, I think last year we had this influx of the Ghanaians or so in our country, everywhere on our traffic.
Nigerian.
Is it Nigerian?
Yeah, Nigerian.
Nigerian from. And it was becoming an eyesore. And for once, I've done it a couple of times, but here I must say, thank you, the President, for taking that bold initiative to flush all these individuals out. It was becoming something. It was becoming a national security for all of us. But thankfully, it's been dealt with. And not to cut you, but Child Rights International, there's a story here in one of the papers where they are not happy about the processes through which the Ghana Immigration Services took in order to, take these kids off the street. According to them, it's a violation on the rights of these children, and it could stoke diplomatic tension between Ghana and their countries of origin. So in as much as we are also concerned about the fact that they have become a nuisance here in our country, there's this angle also that human nature, that human rights conversation about. What's the name of the organization?
That is the child
Where
rights.
were they when these kids were all over the streets? Where were they?
when they were all over the streets, harassing every driver on
I'm
the
sure
road.
you are driving and then they come.
It was becoming something else.
Come and look into you.
Were they waiting for car to run over all of them before they would talk? What would have happened? So sometimes they should give us a breather when we take some decisions, because they've been here for all this while, and we expected them as a think tank or those fighting for individuals to provide the needs for these people. They didn't. So we thank this administration for taking that bold initiative to do that. And let's come back to our issues. Humanitarian crisis unfolding beyond our borders. And we have been told about 220,000 people have fled and 200 people have been killed. The question is, what can we learn as Ghanaians? And the conflict, what the impact that Ghana we are going to have. Can we contain a spillover? These are questions that we have to ask as Ghanaians. Can we contain a spillover when we are going to have? In fact, Nigerians, we've been living with them over the years. In fact, Ghana and Nigeria, we are one. We're brothers. We do things in common. You see a lot of commonalities in our food, the way we do our things, our culture, and all that. In fact, the only time Ghana and Nigeria we don't agree. I don't know whether you know the time that at the time that Ghana and Nigeria we don't agree.
When it comes to jollof.
No,
Football and jollof rice are sweet.
and we hear that. These are the only times that we don't agree. Beyond that, in fact, they are neighbors, we love them, and they are good people to be with. When we hear such stories, we are shocked, and it's a worrying situation for all of us. And what can we do? If we have 200 people who have been killed, and we have 20,000 people who have fled from their homes, what would they be? I see that what it matters to Ghana. Why is it so important to Ghana? I see three important things here. Refugee crisis, economic, ECOWAS security risk is also a big issue. And then we can also talk about economic impact. These are very key issues here when we look at this conflict. In fact, if you look at the data for UNHCR, it states that I think in Ghana we have, in terms of Nigerian who are seeking asylum in Ghana, it's roughly about 500,000 plus seeking for asylum in Ghana here. And around Togo, around our borders in the Volta region, the facilities there are overstretched. If you have a spillover, you're going to have issues. What about security, ECOWAS security? Ghana will deploy personnel to these regions. For example, in Ghana we have about 500 soldiers or so, peacekeepers, who have been deployed to help ECOWAS. If such a trend, or this trend continues, we are going to deploy more people to these areas, and that's what we don't want this one to continue or escalate for a long time. In terms of economic impact, I think Nigeria is Ghana's second largest trading partner in Africa. And yearly, I think we'll do about 1.2 billion or so in terms of trade. Yeah. What is the risk here? If this continues, closure of borders, and they are just our nose here, what happens to our goods? The goods we bring and the goods we also send to Nigeria. So we hope that this thing should end in no time. And Ghana, I'm not sure we are ready to have a spillover to contain more asylum seekers, to have more our soldiers who will be deployed to help calm matters in Nigeria. So our Nigerian brothers, we are just hoping that this thing will come to an end in no time. Right. But then it's a lesson that we have to pick out of this whole insurgency issue.
Right. Thank you very much. A hearty good morning to Mr. Philip Langdon. Good to have you with us, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
I hope you're fine.
I'm not so fine, but I'm okay.
Thank you that despite not being fine, you are here with us. But we're having conversations about Nigeria. 20,000 people have fled Maiduguri.
Maiduguri?
Yes. 20,000 people have fled, and of course it's due to the activities of these insurgents, happening over there. Some 200 people have also lost their lives as a result, and it brings to sharp focus Nigeria's, perennial insecurity issues that has continually, bedeviled West Africa's biggest economy, actually. And so your thoughts on that?
Well, thank you and good morning. And good morning to my colleagues here. I haven't seen my brother here for a long time. Yes. News about insurgency is very unsettling. Nigeria has been grappling with this for a long time. It started with secessionist activities, which has now transcended into pure criminal activity. Some are still claiming separatism, but a lot of it is basically crime. Oil bunkering and all kinds of piracy and stuff like that. Now we are having the problems with Maiduguri and other parts of northern Nigeria. It is most unfortunate that the government or governments of Nigeria in succession, as they try to tackle this matter, haven't been able to totally eradicate it. Because what is also very apparent is that there are others, political activists or political actors, criminals, who benefit from some of these things. And they fund it, even from inside. When the government is trying to deal with it, there are elements in the government who would sneak and also aiding and funding these conflicts. We've seen evidence and records of this in the past. So it is very disheartening that in spite of all the efforts being made, the previous government, I remember, just before they exited, made a heavy military purchase in the hope that, because the Nigerian military was beginning to complain about inadequate logistics and armaments to deal with the situation. So the outgoing government at the time brought in quite a bit of heavy military support, for their armed forces. And it is sad that in spite of all these efforts, still, this matter is festering. All I will do is just to wish them well. I hope that they'll beef up their intelligence monitoring, seek international support. Our friends, our brothers in Burkina Faso appear to be making some progress dealing with their own problems. They haven't shied away from seeking international support, getting the necessary equipment and logistics to help them address it. So I just hope that the Nigerian authorities would adopt some of these measures as well. Find somebody, I'm not so sure whether like we have here, I don't know whether there's a dedicated arm or body that is dealing with the issue of insurgency in Nigeria. I think it's just being handled at the state level, where the state government is handling it, and at the federal level where it is being handled. I don't know whether there's a dedicated, as it were, secretariat or something that is dealing with this thing. I think if there doesn't exist such a situation, they should probably consider doing that. Unfortunately, I got a notice of this conversation very, very late, so I wasn't able to make a lot of inquiries into this matter. But I believe that looking at the way previous governments have handled this matter, and the way the commitment that this current government has shown in tackling it, because it's something that destabilizes not just Maiduguri and those parts of, northeastern Nigeria, but it destabilizes the whole country. And like my brother was saying, it begins to affect us here too. Yeah. Because if it spills over, we will be, as it were, will be affected. You see, so I just hope that this is dealt with, because they have other problems of kidnapping and crime, armed robbery, car snatching that has been going on, that they've been tackling. In the recent past, you've seen that a lot of that has come down. They are making progress in tackling those other criminal activities. But when it comes to insurgency, I think that it has become a bit of a more, it's gone beyond a national issue. It's gone virtually, they have a lot of international linkages. So I'll urge the Nigerian government to do whatever it takes, seek support from neighboring countries. Support doesn't necessarily mean us sending them troops or anything like that, but our intelligence sources could work together and aid them to get to the bottom of it, because it doesn't look good at all. It destabilizes the country. It diverts attention from the government focusing on its own development agenda, diverts resources, you know. So I just hope that we'll be able to get to the bottom of it and totally eradicate it for the good of not just Nigeria but the entire sub-region.
Thank you very much. Away from Nigeria, let's come back to Ghana. The cedi is doing quite well. If you go to a forex bureau to change some forex, you'll be getting, say for instance, you want a dollar, that would cost you some 12 cedis, 25 to 30 pesos, and that's a very sharp improvement from what we saw some months ago. Even January this year, the cedi was hovering around 15.5 thereabout. Last year it went as far as 16.5, getting all the way to 17. But there's been this conversation about what really is causing the appreciation of the cedi. But I mean, does the ordinary Ghanaian really care? We do not care what is causing it. What we want is the fact that it should be maintained. We should continue to see an appreciation of the local currency. There's a whole banter between the ruling administration and, of course, the opposition. The flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party in the just ended election has been talking about, some policies of his while in power that he believes is inuring to the benefit of this current administration and making our cedi appreciate as against the dollar. And he's actually mentioned the gold for oil policy. He stated categorically that no policy, not a single policy of this current administration is to be praised for the appreciation of the cedi. I'm happy that I have the Dean of the Faculty of Accounting and Finance of the University of Professional Studies here in Accra with us on set, Professor Isaac Boedi. Perhaps he knows a thing or two about the Ghana cedi and the gains that we have made over the last few months and what we can attribute that to and how we can also maintain it going forward. Prof.
Yeah. I don't know why we have two economic this discussion is, I don't know whether it's overflocked or we are still having difficulties in settling this matter. Who is right and who is not right? Two economic visions, one by the current administration, one by the previous administration. But the cedi still remain volatile as we speak. In fact, in any day, I want to wake up to see 1-to-1 dollar to a cedi, 1-to-1. I'll be glad and I'll be happy. We have seen a sharp decline or a cedi resurgence over a period of time. Isn't that good news? We all enjoy when we have such a trend. Everybody. And I said it the last time that anytime rain falls, one will be happy and one will not be happy. Yesterday, farmers will be happy. Those who live in the flood-prone areas will be angry with God. The same thing with the currency that we have. When we see we have stability or, volatility over a period, exporters, those who export products outside, would they be happy or will not be happy? They will not be happy because when they export the product and they get the gains and they get the funds, when they bring into our economy, they don't have value because the cedi is going down. What about those who also send products, who import, they have to now look for more. I mean, those who, bring products from outside, they have to chase for more cedis, dollars, before they will be. So, two different varied opinions or sentiment when we have volatility in our currencies. But the other thing is that, for me, I am interested in stability.
Yeah.
When you have a stable currency, you're able to plan and plan well. Then the changes, the volatility, it doesn't help. But then in Ghana, we have issues when it comes to who has contributed and who has not contributed. And we put the debate all the time. We have forgotten that all the policies that we have been focusing over time have been temporary. I'll talk about gold for oil. We had gains. I'll talk about that. When you focus so much on short-term measures and you forget about corruption, you forget about boosting exports, the cedi will crash again. If you don't focus on these two and the thing that you need to be on set, you need to be on platforms and champion, yes, we are recorded, we are happy, the cedi will crash again. And let me give you this. Global S&P, global rating, Standard & Poor, I think global ratings for, they have also come out to say that in a few months, the cedi will depreciate. Which means that these gains we have made could be a short term. What can you do beyond this? Let's now focus on, in fact, fleeting headlines. Baumia and President Mama clash over cedi depreciation. It's appreciation. Stabilization. Yeah. Nice headlines, and we are good when we come out with those headlines. Let's look at the previous administration, their policies, the gold for oil. People make mistake and they put the two together. Gold for oil and domestic gold purchase program, they are not the same. Gold for oil and domestic gold purchase program. The gold for oil was just to help exchange gold for oil so that we avoid using a currency, a common denominator in exchange. So for instance, if you seek to bring in import of oil worth of 1 million, and the cost per barrel is 80. What it means that you multiply 1 million by 80. Without gold for oil. That means that you are to send about 80-something million or so to bring in oil. So that by quantity. With gold for oil, if you look at the international market and the price trading at 2,000, then it means that you need to exchange gold about 40,000 ounces or so, or tons, to bring in to exchange. So you avoid the dollar as a common denominator in these whole transactions. How much have you saved with that policy? Records indicates for, I think it's about 600-something million in terms of forex saved over the period. Now, that policy was able to reduce the pressure on that was on cedi, that people were looking out for the dollars all the time to go and bring in oil. Ghana, the record showed that I think we imported about 3 billion or so worth of oil. And if you're able to do this policy well, it means that the pressure likely to go down. So let's leave that one. Now we have the gold purchase program, introduced, I'm sure, by the previous administration. And what was it about? It was to show up the reserves that we have. Having able to do that over the period of time, records will indicate that over the period, they've been able to have a lot of reserves within this period. Now we have our president who mounts the platform. I don't know where this one was said recently or so, that due to the BOG, the Ministry of Finance intervention, and then prudent management of this administration, they've been able to stabilize the dollar. And I said it would be a good news that I wake up one day is 1-to-1. That's a good news for me. So I don't have a problem. Now let's also interrogate further what this administration have been able to do to stabilize the tide over the period. One, you know, we have the game changer in the manifesto of this administration, and that's the 24-hour economy.
Yeah.
We'll come to that issue later on. Yes. But you know that game changer, has it been implemented? The draft policy been submitted to Parliament also for consideration. What has also contributed to the cedi stabilization? Difficult to tell. Because one, I have not seen major expenditure when it comes to contractors that have been paid. I'm here to see that report. How much, within the last 4 months, how much we have paid to contractors? External payments, payment to the IPPs. I don't know how much we have paid to them, because some of these institutions will take dollars. And if you are paying money to these institutions, I'm here to see the record. I stand for corruption. Corruption in terms of how much you have paid to these people. When we start making those payments, then you can tell me that the cedi, the dollar has taken a nosedive. Then I can understand. But for now, it's difficult. But from the BOJ governor-owned admission, said on, I think, the Ghana web or so, that the cedi resurgence is as a result of three major things. Three major things. One is the weak dollar. He said it. And he, because he's in charge of the monetary space, we can now give some credence to some of the statements made by him. And he said, as a result of the weak dollar, he made that comment. And that is more of external issues. And also attributed the cedi resurgence as a result of one, the injection, the 490 from IMF, coming into our country. That also has helped to stabilize the dollar. Another admission by him was the fact that the gold boom in the market. The price of gold have gone up. In Ghana, we're also making gains in this area. So he made, and you know, gold it's been a silent savior of major countries that have such resources or mineral. In Ghana, we are blessed to have. So when you have an increment or price changes and it's up, their prices are upward in the commodity market, we are happy because we are likely to get more revenue coming in. So for me, I'm struggling to understand key policies of this administration that have contributed in stabilizing. Of course, if there are, yeah, we need to know. But until then,
about the gold board.
The gold board.
Yes.
Yes. Let's come to the figures from gold board. Per the figures I saw the last time, they posted. You know, they had a budget allocation of 257 billion or so to buy gold. They've been able to export, I think, almost 900 or something in terms of gold. I wrote an article.
$900 million
worth of, yes. I wrote an article, I think, to Joy FM or something, trying to understand the numbers. If you give me 1 cedi to go and buy an item, I must bring you item worth of how much? 1 cedi. But we have given you 290 something million to go and bring gold. And you tell me you're able to export almost 900. I mean, clearly, if you do the maths, unless I'm not doing the math correctly, the 200 and something must give you about 2 point something tons of gold to export. But the 900 or so should give you about 6.7 tons. So the difference, the 4 points, if you subtract 2 from 6, the difference, where did we get the money to export those? Where? Obvious reasons. One is either we have added not a small scale, but the big mining companies have also added, or the government must have received, the board might have received some funds from elsewhere to be able to show up or to buy those. But if I'm going strictly by the funds allocated, I'm sure in April or so, that take 200 and something to export gold, and you tell me I've exported this, then we need more clarifications. So in terms of policy, it's difficult to understand what this administration been able to do to be able to reduce, judging from the governor's own admission that 3 key issues. One has to be the gold factor, that the price of gold, and then 2, the fact that we have also received injection of 400 and something from IMF. 3 being the one I mentioned. I think I mentioned 3 factors. So clearly, we are so waking up to see the realities on the ground, because the game changer is yet to be implemented. And for me, I would have loved to have seen the 24-hour economy operating or functional. But you see, our next discussion is on the power crisis. The issue is that you want to run 24-hour economy. Your power cannot run beyond even 12 hours. How do you sustain such a policy? And I'm just hoping that we'll see the birth of this game changer. And that can help. But let's not forget that all these reductions or decline in in dollar, they are all at this stage temporal. We should focus on issues on corruption. We should focus on boosting our exports. If you don't do this, the cedi will crash again.
I want to read what the Daily Guide has covered relative to the policy initiatives by this current administration that this administration believes is, or are the reasons for the appreciation of the cedi. It says, according to the president, he said, we have to take urgent steps with the presentation of a budget to Parliament that made a steep adjustment in the primary balance from negative 3.9% of GDP to a projected positive 1.5% by the end of this year. Mahama said these bold and targeted interventions are now beginning to show early signs of economic recovery and renewed momentum. He pointed out that Ghana's 2024 GDP growth of 5.7%, largely driven by mining, construction and services sectors, and pointed to data from the Bank of Ghana showing a sustainable pickup in real economic activity early in 2025. According to him, inflation, which peaked at 23.8% at the end of 2024, has started to ease, dropping to 21.2% by April. President Mahama explained that the Ghana cedi, after depreciating by 19.2% in 2024, has appreciated by 3.9% against the US dollar by the end of April 2025. This, he said, is supported by strong foreign exchange inflows, improved trade balances, and growing investor confidence. Our gross international reserves have also improved significantly from 8.98 billion in December 2024, and I remember in January when the former president gave his last State of the Nation address, he stated that he has improved from 8.98 billion in December 2024 to $10.6 billion by April 2025, equivalent to nearly 5 months of import cover. This increase reflects enhanced export earnings, particularly from gold and non-traditional exports, along with timely disbursements from multilateral partners. He added that fiscal discipline is a key factor, with the fiscal deficit dropping from 7.5% of GDP in 2024 to 6.4% in the first half of 2025, on track to meet an end-year target of 3.1%. So, I mean, this is just, Prof, this is just to say some of the things that, according to the president, can be attributed for the gains that the cedi is making. You were making a case for, you know, stability. Then we'd have to ensure that we are exporting more, you understand, and bringing in that foreign exchange. And according to him, and the figures, the percentages and figures he has quoted, according to him, these are some of the things that may be contributing to the appreciation of the cedi.
Well, I'm sure that is why the media picked Bawumia and then Mahama clash.
Yes.
Over cedi.
This is actually daily graphic, by the way. This is actually daily graphic.
Well, but it was said by someone.
Yeah, well. Daily Guide actually, and I'm stating because we all know the position of Daily Guide in terms of, you know, but this is what the Daily Guide has reported relative to.
Well, we're looking at primary balance over the period. I think 2023 was about 4.2 or so. That means that your government revenue as against your non-interest expenditures, if you back up all your interest payments, what will be left for you to service? And for me, figures will not lie. But sometimes the interpretations and those who present the figures, sometimes that's where the problems we have as a country. But for me, so, Kuku, has the government lied to us, the governor?
Well, maybe
has the government lied to us? We can check that story also on the Ghana web. He made those statements.
We'd have to see who's the
one in charge
would take, whether it's the president or the government.
So figures will not lie, but the presenter sometimes will tell us different things. The one in charge of that administration, in terms of jurisdiction, tells us 3 or 4 major things contributed. We have different stories here. So which one do we believe?
Which one do we pick?
But the ultimate thing is that we should not, as a country, outsource our gains to external factors. We deceive ourselves.
Right. Mr. Philip London, has the gold for oil policy, or can we attribute the cedi's appreciation? And of course, I mean, by the way, the cedi is actually the world's best performing currency. Can we attribute that to the gold for oil policy, especially when last year, yes, gold for oil policy, which the flag bearer, the former flag bearer of the MPP is saying, especially when last year, you know, even when this policy was in place, we saw the cedi depreciate. And so, is it the case that we are now seeing the effect of it, the positive effect of that policy, you know, in a different year?
I find your question quite funny. But I must say that I'm very happy that I met my brother here. I read the article, actually. I didn't know who had written it.
But you've read it?
Yeah, I read it. And it was, I found it very intriguing because I had never thought in that direction. That if Gold Board is doing so well in terms of its gold purchases, and the budgetary allocation was only 200, and they are making sales over 800 million, then where is it coming? I had never thought about that. I'd always appreciated, quote unquote, the good work that they were doing, and how that whole, you know, initiative was bringing such a good outcome, you know. But then when I read that article, then I realized that no, then there's something else going on. So at the end of the day, like we all agree, the fact that the cedi is performing the way it is now, it's a credit that this government would achieve, would take, and they duly deserve. They duly deserve. The former flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, Dr. Bawumia, who is claiming gold for oil. In the days when he was doing gold for oil, the cedi was running around 14, going to 15. Yet you are still claiming credit that gold for oil was doing well. You are still claiming credit that gold for oil was doing well.
As for that logic.
If we should tell them that it was 16, and now we're in power transcriber. I said no.
You see, that's why I said this, my friend. It's about let me answer that question. So I was saying this to show that yes, my former party. You see, so yes, gold for oil was introduced during that time. At the time, I wasn't too sure how it was going to work. Yes, the theory that you don't take so much cash to pay for the foreign currency, to pay for the gold, pay for the oil. But it didn't quite work. Anyway, at the end of the day, we are where we are. The kind of returns or the kind of results that we're expected to see as a result of gold for oil is not exactly what we saw. You know, it's not exactly what we saw. Today, what we are seeing is that the dollar, the cedi is appreciating in value. The cedi is appreciating in value. Yes, some have said the dollar is struggling. Yes, it is true, the dollar is struggling. But it's not appreciating only against the dollar. It's appreciating against all the other currencies. And all our brothers in the sub-region, their currency levels are remaining the same.
Yeah.
So, nobody can wish away what is going on. Yes, we might want to interrogate further because we want stability. We don't want to hear tomorrow that there's going to be depreciation again. No, we don't want to hear that. You know, we don't want to hear that. So if there's appreciation going on, we want that appreciation to go on until it gets to a point where we know that, okay, the cedi has now settled and we can look in the foreseeable future for the cedi maintaining this level or making another gradual appreciation. This is what we all expect. So now what should happen? Now from my point of view, yes, like the indices you read out to us just now from the Daily Guide, inflation has come down. Government expenditure is being controlled in a way that is admirable, in a way that is tangible. It's not about the Minister of Finance coming to tell us that we are curbing government finance. But the government is trying its the size of government.
Yes,
the government, expenditure. The government is doing various other things to limit the level of government expenditure. You can see tangible and determined effort to control that. You cannot take that away from the government. Inflation has dropped, but we must admit that the price of food is so high.
Yeah.
It's going up. But why is the price of food going up? I am a farmer. You know that between January and coming to March, food prices tend to go up. Thankfully, there's rains. As my brother was saying, the farmers are happy, but people living in other areas are sad. But the consequence of the rains coming in will be that we look forward to more food production, and with more food production, we expect a bigger drop in inflation, because food inflation is something that actually affects our general inflation level in this country. It's a major factor, you know, and like as food prices are up and we wish to see them coming down, we can also see that we are getting the benefits of the drop in the cedi. Cement price has dropped from 100 cedis plus to about 80 cedis. 20% drop. You know, so these are all good things. These are all good things. I mean, we cannot deny that. We cannot, you know. So it is good. It is good that we are having all these interventions and seeing all this progress. I'm slightly distracted. Yeah, so like I'm saying, it is good. We expect food inflation to drop,
yeah,
as we get further into the rainy season and as we get into the bumper season of agricultural harvest. I have seen a very conscious effort to work at increased food production. I was listening to the new Minister of Agric, and I can see that there's a very determined effort to help boost agricultural production. There must be the follow-up consequence of food processing, because if we have bumper food production and we do not add value and we allow, as a consequence of bumper production, food prices drop and farmers are not encouraged to go and produce further, we'll go into a cycle of high food prices again in the next cycle. So there must be the conscious effort and program and policy to ensure that as we anticipate a bumper production, we are channeling it into ways of value addition, preservation, and even more better marketing. So that first of all, farmers get more returns, and then we boost the agricultural logistical chain, and in the process create more jobs. That's how you sustain and build the economy. And that also begins to feed into your 24-hour economy. Is not an event. It's a process. So with all these things happening, I just want to hope and believe that the government has people working on these things, working towards the next steps. Because if we are happy that the dollar has dropped and things are good, and the follow-ups to sustain it and maintain it is not happening, then like my brother was advising, it's going to be as it were, a 9-day wonder, So I think that yes, it is good. It is a credit for the government that is well deserved, and we should endeavor to ensure that the gains are consolidated and maintained. We don't want the government to slip. We've seen it before. We've seen governments begin to perform well in their initial days and then begin to slip.
In 2020, our economy was voted, 2019 or so, they said our economy was the fastest growing in the world.
Yes, it was. But you see, at that time too, we were, well, like we still are, and they're very strict. We're coming out of a strict IMF program like we are doing now. You see, where everything is very, very restricted. What it takes is the independent discipline of the government. The government must demonstrate its own independent discipline to ensure that, look, in 2020, like I say, hadn't we passed a law to ensure that the government doesn't borrow beyond 5%? What happened? The same government withdrew the law and started borrowing, I mean, like there was no tomorrow. So, yes, the progress has been made. The success is here with us. We are enjoying it. We want to see better results. But at the same time, we should also keep the government on its toes to ensure that it does not slack, it does not become complacent. And its agents, it is often the agents of the government who start becoming, they begin to lose focus and start beginning to enjoy the trappings of power, etc. And then they forget the main reason why they are there. They think that, they've achieved what they wanted to achieve, so now they can just relax and enjoy. No. It's not that the main job is to be done. So it's important that, yes, the progress has been made, but serious efforts are made to sustain it and to let it factor into other developments, like the ultimate 24-hour economy is something I would say is always a natural consequence of economic advancement. All the advanced economies in the world, their economies are almost 24-hour. They don't call it 24-hour economy. They don't call it 24-hour. They never had a 24-hour economy program. Never. As you advance your economy, as your businesses thrive, it naturally evolves into a 24-hour.
That need comes up.
It is a natural evolution of your economic development. They never had a policy training secretary where they appoint somebody who is in charge of 24 hours. Master, Let the economy run. When the economy is running, it is natural. Those markets that run almost 24 hours, it's because people always go there 24 hours. The place is secure. They get their produce all the time. The traders are available. The market will be 24 hours. So if we want, or the government is set to turn our economy into 24 hours, that means that they want to expedite it for us to get there. It's a good thing. And we must support that endeavor. But we shouldn't slack, and we should always be 2 steps ahead to be able to get there. Otherwise, we make some progress, and then before you know what's happening, we are falling back and slacking, and then the decline starts again.
Thank you very much. I'll read a few messages before I come to Honorable Awuntiri. Hello, Pan-African TV. Why do we know the obvious but keep playing the devil's advocates if we are adamant to accept the current performance of the cedi against foreign currencies? In spite of Bloomberg's affirmation, then it seems we are just playing politics, while the currencies of our neighbors still the same and others surging. Abdulaziz from Accra is asking this one. It says the former Vice President, Dr. Bawumia, who is a textbook economist, has started lecturing on the economy again. Has he soon forgotten that it was the same lectures that plunged the economy into bankruptcy? Asanko from Santa Maria sent this one. This one he also says, good morning. Please, how much gold did we spend in bringing how many barrels of oil? Foster in Kufuridia is asking this question. Very legitimate. Good morning. It says, even the NPP was not paying contractors. Total and Guel fuel stations are still selling at 12.94 per litre in Navrongo. Even after the reductions, they should be called to order. Martin Tew sent this one. Good morning to you, host, and your panel. Please don't spend time discussing about the economy, which Dr. Bawumia is poking his nose into, because if he were competent, Ghanaians would have voted for him in the 2024 elections. In 2014, cement was 24 cedis, but Nanado and Bawumia time it cost 120 Ghana cedis, fuel 17.97 a litre, and now under John Mahama, fuel price have been reduced. Which of these two is the better governance of the economy? Okay, thank you. You didn't tell me your name and where you sent your message from. NPP should do the needful to advise Afenyo Makin to stop embarrassing himself and the NPP party. In fact, Ghanaians don't want to hear his name again because he has messed up parliament in Ghana as a whole. James K. Saba said this one. All right, thank you, James. This one here also says, I greet you, your panelists and all the viewers. My name is Togi Boso. It's very good to hear and read of the progress of the current government. But yesterday I heard the price of cement is still at 120, not 85 as we first heard. My deepest request, I want you to help me, as some of us have been jobless for some years, and I decided to go into agriculture. I'm planning to import agricultural machinery, tractors, trailers and other equipment for rice farming. How can the government help me clear it on duty-free policy? Thank you. Okay. David says, Prof is speaking the politics of the NPP. The ordinary Ghanaian want policies that will change the stability, not textbook economics by the NPP. That didn't yield anything. Good work from H. John Mahama and the National Democratic Congress. Okay, Dr. Atoli sent this one. Thank you, Doc, for your message. To some more, this one here says, good morning, blessed. Dr. Bawumia has no credibility to talk about the foreign exchange now. Is he not the same man who told Ghanaians in their time that he has arrested the cedi? Thereafter, what happened to the cedi? And it went to 17 Ghana cedis to $1. Edward Bubaza says the additional dollar which is making the cedi appreciate is coming from the polytanks of... Well, Musa Abatra says Accra congestion is welcome news. However, it must be done in this sincere manner. Nonetheless, Dr. Bawumia should be ashamed of himself for trying to downplay the remarkable cedi appreciation we are witnessing and deny President Mahama the credit he rightfully deserves. It takes a truly visionary leader to make such bold and prudent economic decisions, something we've never seen at this level in Ghana's history. Let's give credit where it is due and stop twisting fact for political convenience. All right, thank you. I'll read this final message from Bangura. He says that, Dr. Baumia, after losing the election, has now abandoned digitalization and has come back to discussing the economy. When in 2016 he was discussing the economy and the NPP won the elections, he came and started discussing digitalization. Now that the NPP has lost power, he has gone back to the economy. Shame on him. Okay, all right, thank you for your message. Let me come to you, Honorable Timothy Awontere Matabwade. There's an assertion out there that your government isn't spending, you are not paying contractors, and all of these may be contributory factors to the fact that we are not seeing a surge in the dollar as against the cedi. But we are touting some policy initiatives by this government that it's what's actually accruing to the benefit of the local currency. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, let me say, I've enjoyed Prof's initial analysis. But he ended somewhere, and I'll start from there. Then truly, I think London talked about the consequences of the economy developing into a natural 24-hour economy. I think that's the best I've heard. It is true. When the economy is doing well, it would eventually have a 24-hour economy. Mm-hmm. And in the Western world, or in the European and developed country, it in itself are mutated from the incipient stage of rural economy into cities and large economic scales that has brought it like that. But you see, our 24-hour economy, in order to allow it to grow, that's why we brought in some policies we call tax exemptions, tax rebates. Mm-hmm. We also talked about the reduction in electricity, water, and all doses, including ensuring that we have 24-hour security. You know, when you are bringing a policy, it must be thought through. We've moved from the days when policies are just thrown to the electorate. And I keep telling people that these days the youth have copious information by the press of a knob, an IT knob, and they know where it is, and they can make comparative analysis of the situation. So I agree with him that once the economy begins to develop and human movement becomes brisk, business is brisk, the infrastructure is laid out, people can travel from Sanama within 24 hours, they're in Accra, buy their goods and return the same 24-hour economy. In fact, that is where we should be aiming at. And I think that over the years, over the decades, if we had focused like that, we would have gone somewhere. Even if it is one industry that is doing 24 hours, let's applaud it. The difference between you running the 24 hours and I'm running the 24-hour economy is a policy that you need to register. It hasn't just come wholesale that because I am running the 2 of us are running 24-hour economy is naturally should fall in. No, you must register so we can track you, so that you can benefit from the rebates that comes with it. So if the 2 of us are selling water for 24-hour economy, and I say I don't want the Ghana's policy of 24 hours, I will still be doing 24 hours, but not the 24-hour economic policy that the government is doing. For instance, we're doing free HSS for public schools. If you are turning private SS, you pay fees. So if you don't want to pay fees, what do? You go to the public schools. That is the simple explanation. Do you get it? Do you get it? We are running secondary school. Public schools are enjoying fee-free. We came with a stress-free fee for first-year students in public institutions. Public if you want to get there and you are turning Asiase, you are not going to get that free. Are you getting the point? If you are in a private institution, you are not going to get the first-year fee free. So the policy must be distinct. And like London said, it's a policy. It's not a one-day issue. So I was surprised when Prof said that You cannot keep the lights on for 24 hours. You want to run a 24-hour economy. Really? Really, Prof? Really? Why is the comparison? Already we've come to meet an energy sector that is choked with unpaid debt, over 80 billion. ECG alone owes 60 billion. You wonder, you think that the state resources are like that of the legendary Midas, so you can touch anything is gold. We have to mobilize the resources, pay off these debts, and sustain the lights. We just read our budget in March. We read the budget in March. You today, doing so is ours. Galamsey is ours. But the good ones is not NDC. How do you talk like that? And I'll come to the policy. What has Bawumia wanted us to do? To acknowledge him? Or to say that the policies that we are building...
I mean, he's saying that prior to some of the...
Should we acknowledge him?
Honorable, yes. Because Ghana had just 8.7 tons of gold. Before that policy was introduced, now we have 30 tons. Give the man his credit. Some 21.3 tons have been added.
Credit. You see, don't distort me, I'll come there.
Right.
So he needs credit. He knows that it's good to give credit to your predecessors. Prof, is that not it? If I took over from Prof, and Prof, I should acknowledge that. Is that not it? Do we agree? Since when did he learn that? Since when did Bawumia learn that? Bawumia should stop irritating us in this country. He's annoying me. Please. I don't want that, please. Bawumia should stop the childish economies. No, you see, Prof, we are running a government. I will cite just one example. Pokuasi interchange. Bawumia went there to commission. What did he tell us? That when we came, the Pokuasi interchange, we didn't add a peswa. It was a 3-tier. We added a 4th tier. What is the implication of that statement?
And the 4th tier would have gone to somebody's pockets.
Beautiful. What is the implication of that statement? Prof, what is the implication of? It's like you've given me money, 100,000 to build a 4-bedroom. Then I'm building somewhere along the line, so hand over to Bless. Then Bless come and say, you see, Prof gave 100,000. When I came, I didn't add a cedi, but I made a 5-bedroom. Is that what Bawumia told us? Was Bawumia not aware that Terminal 3 was completed, and yet up to today they were talking, they never commissioned it? Where John Mahama did well, they impugned corruption. Where he started before they came, and the project completed, they never commissioned them. That is how ungrateful people like that, who won the mandate of these people, overwhelming at the time, 167, what do you call it, MPs. And that's how they use the resource. I'm coming, Bless, just give me time. You see, the MPP should not talk. You know what, Prof? When government appointed the ministers, they had the best opportunity to interrogate our ministers at the vetting committee to bring all these policy lapses up. What did they do at the vetting committee? Oh, are you an old student of this? Can you sing national anthem? Oh, are you a lodge member? Are you a Santa? Can you dance? Is your girlfriend wearing earrings? St. George, your wife paid your school fees. Is that what an operation should do? Government appoints, Prof, listen, government is appointed. Put in your best. Ask them policy issues. You were asking them to dance, to sing local songs. Which school did you go? Are you a lodge member? Huh? You said this about the Chief Justice. You said this about Akufo-Addo. Can you now? They lost it. They lost it, and they should keep their mouth shut forever, because the people of this country appreciate and know what it does to them. Now listen, we'll come to the gold issue. Under the previous government, you borrowed, the total envelope of borrowing was $30 billion. Europe was alone 13 billion. In your first 2 years, where were the investments that could have sustained? The DDEP that we went into was not as a result. It was deliberately created because you frivolously spend the taxpayers' money into unproductive areas of the economy. Check this. When we brought our tribal gas, yearly was being spent of $400 million. $400 million, oh, because we're not importing gas. Today, Cosmos has come back. They are investing $2 billion into a new gas station. As I talked this morning, Tano has started to drill oil again. These are concrete investment you cannot run away from. The Terminal 3 that we brought, that was facilitating movement of people. And Terminal 3, by the way, it was the balance sheet of the Ghana Airports Company money that they used, and they've paid off. The expansion of the Tema Port, the MPS, you know how much it was coming in a day? Yeah, about 2-3 weeks ago, you saw the biggest ship liner in the world. It cannot land anywhere. It landed in Tema. You saw it. That was why they were giving the salute. And the captain was hailed. Because there's nowhere in the West African coastline in Africa that ship can dock. It docked here, and the Navy vessel was in front, giving it a salute. That was why you saw the water that way. It has never docked in this part of the world. It is so big that it cannot. It docked at Tema because of someone's vision. Because of someone's vision, it docked there. In any case, Bormia is saying that we didn't put up a policy. We have not paid contractors. Really? Who created the contract debts? So we should come and be paying your contract debts. With that, who is that prudent government that has come that will not do forensic audit into bloated contracts? We should come and be distributing money, and the economy will run haywire. Where you left it at 16 cedis to $1. Prof, if you were a vice chancellor, and then your predecessor gave contracts and you took over, you come and start paying without not doing due diligence to what he did. You paid $58 million into a hole that never was. We should come and pay them. Bank of Ghana ran at a loss. If they were rating central banks in the world, Ghana Bank was it was like Zumi Lion. Bank of Ghana. They owed so much. They printed money. You remember when we raised the issue about the printing of money? What were they printing the money for? They told us if they hadn't printed the money, the economy would have completely gone aground. Rating agencies gave us restrictive default. You remember, Prof? Prof, I'm here this morning. Look. Policies have sunset clause. Policies are not just allowed to go. They have sunset clause. They have maturity time. Is that not, Prof? If that is so, did Baumia indicate to us that the goal for oil in the year 2025 would yield this result? Did he indicate that in his policy of goal for oil? If he had come to continue on the same trajectory, the dollar would have maintained at that level. In any case, these rating agencies, did they also foresee and rated that the goal for oil in the year 2025 would yield this results? They should give us the ratings. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because in 2016, Prof, you are aware that in 2016, when we're in power and the things were difficult for us, you know, the rating agencies told us that it does not matter which political party wins power in 2017. But we had built the infrastructure in such a way that it was time for the economy to take off. You remember the rating? So they projected into the future. Are you with me, Bless? They projected into the future. When they came and things were good, did they acknowledge it? They only told us that, look, it was because there were economic whiskets, there were what-not, prudent managers of the economy. Is that not what you told us? Today, inflation, look, it's a culmination of factors that has led to where we are now. You cannot, look, the issue of foreign exchange is an issue of demand and supply. It's an issue of demand and supply. At this period, we've brought in more, inflows than we are demanding. So in an economy where people are not demanding more foreign currencies, naturally the cedi will stabilize. With the goal for oil, this is a news. This is a what do you call it? A joint news and other news. And this was reported by Gold for Oil. I'll come to that. Ghana's small-scale gold export for the first 4 months of 2025 hit 2.7 billion. Ghana's small-scale gold export for the first 4 months of 2025 hit that. I'll come to that. You see, and I agree with Prof. Look, if an economy, the export drive must come in. We must do more investments to ensure that we sustain. I'm looking at sustainability, like you said, and Prof to mention it. If the cedi is 1 to the dollar, good for us.
Yeah.
But we should rather even be praising us, even if this is policy and we maintain. We've seen government that have come to abandon other parties' policies. We've seen government like that. So even if this because he had these policies and his own government refused to implement them. His own government, when he was the vice president, head of the economic team, he suggested, because by what he's saying, he's telling us that he suggested to Akufo-Addo, and Akufo-Addo didn't do it, and then this government did it. By what he says, is that not true? Yeah, we can glean from what he's saying is that he knew these things. He told Akufo-Addo and then Ken Ofori-Atta, and they refused. So the policies are now yielding maturity. That's why we are gaining that. He should be candid to admit. He should be candid to admit. For the first time, what did we do? We were selling Bordier at the Ministry of Agric.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were selling Bordier there. Because we couldn't feed ourselves. Before they left power, they were talking about issues of Ukraine and what? Russia war. Were they telling us about gold for oil? And the gold for oil, you see what is nauseating about it, Prof? The gold that we sent to buy, we were not using the gold to buy the oil. You know what we were doing? There was a middleman that takes the gold, buy, and give us the dollars. So that was why the fuel wasn't coming down. The fuel got even up to 20 cedis per liter.
21.
In any case, what will I prefer, Prof? If even for implementing your policies and the cedi is appreciating, why? Is it not good, like Prof said this morning? For the first time, frivolous expenditure. Look at how state institutions have been run down. Look at the tax refund, what do you call it, amount. They were using these funds as slush funds, not in any productive venture in the slush funds. So, Prof, the question we have to ask ourselves this morning is, do we genuinely say that state institutions don't break even? They don't make profit? Because individuals make profit. Is that not it? Individuals make profit in state agencies who say they don't make profit, and for that matter, we should cancel them. How can an individual allegedly be taking 41,000 Ghana cedis as allowance every week? If they were not making profit, how can one fellow be taking 41,000 Ghana cedis and buying luxury cars? Do we need luxury cars to run state institutions? Prof, tell me. Maybe a Corolla, and you have your 4 wheels to go out there to see. But we're buying luxury cars for state institutions, spending government money to acquire private property. One fellow can spend over $7 million buying a whole gated community. It means that the state agencies, when they are properly run, they can save, and then they will employ more and contribute. One of the major issues about the 24-hour economy is also to target export, because it's an 8-hourly job. If we produce more and we cannot consume, we will export to our various countries and so on. So for me, it's not a banter between Baumia and John Mahama. They should give us a break. The goal for oil, when we took over power by December 2024, Prof, we had 30 tons of gold sitting in the Bank of England for Ghana, and yet the exchange rate was at 16. We added 1 ton and the exchange rate has come down. If indeed that gold for oil and the policy for the Bank of Ghana to buy gold was enough to bring the dollar down and appreciate the cedi, then at 30 tons, the dollar should have been bought to even 5 cedis. If we added just 1 ton, because now that we are talking, we've added only just 1 ton. And if 1 ton, 30 could not bring the dollar down, and 1 ton can do the magic, that is a good policy for us. And the policy is that we brought the gold board. And now it is illegal to trade gold apart from acquiring the license and trading it within this country. No foreigner is allowed to do that. You understand? So these things, we must note them down. First, policies have sunset clauses. 2, policies have maturity period. And Bawumia did not tell us when they were leaving and doing their handing over notes. When they handed over their notes to us, they did not indicate that the goal for oil by, by May will bring the dollar and this and that. He didn't say that.
There was no such projection.
A retrospective analysis and post-mortem economic somersaults and tell that we won't tell him. He's not the one. We are not implementing this, but we are not going to tell him Bawumia. In fact, our policy is that the people of this country feel better now. Businesses are confident. They are dancing on social media.
Rather than other ones.
So for me, we have done what people like my brother said. The other day they said that if NDC was in power, the dollar would have gone to 25 Ghana. Is that not what they told us? NDC is in power. The dollar has defied your prophecy. Acknowledge that you're a false prophet. You said no, you're not a prophet, a false prophet. What are you telling me? You say if we were in power, the dollar would have gone this. As we talk, the total debt for this country, we are paying 64 billion this year at the end of the month. And the total amount of debt that we are paying, do you know what? It is more than the budgetary allocation to the Ministry of Health. It's more than the budgetary allocation to education. We are paying 64 billion at the end of this year because of the DDEP. So that amount could have been pushed into, can you imagine that if that amount, 64 billion, is pushed into just road constructions? That is why we are, if people don't know, 64 billion at the end of this year, we're paying that. So what policy is he talking about? So you see, he should rather be helping and telling people that. That's why I'm saying that even the confidence alone we've injected into the economy is enough policy. These are intangibles. But people read the data and they can project into the future and see that it is now the rightful area to do what? Investments. What do you call it? I wanted to see something, to hear something from the governor and then the finance minister, which my brother, I think the two of them retreated. The sustainability for which the finance minister, it's not going to be a 9-day wonder. The policies they've put in place, in fact, if we're able to stabilize for the next 2 years, attendance will calm down because importers will benefit and so on and so forth. The president has equally told us that we should hold on. We should look at the mid-year budget review in August. The mid-year budget will bring more goodies. That is where we can then have the real figures to be able to do the prudent analysis that we are trying to do. All what we are doing are the figures that intermittently the Bank of Ghana or the Minister for Finance releases to us to do. Prof has questioned about the gold buying, the amount of money and so on. Maybe at the mid-year budget, it will come out for us to do proper analysis. But for me, you see, Bawumia, they should hasten slowly. This kind of ejaculation where it is done prematurely, for them to see that they are winning political dividends. Once they should take what? Yes. They should stop. And for me, it is early to start opposing a regime that generally is doing well by public perception. You do that, when you do that, you create despondency and you create hatred for you because you couldn't do it and abuse. Look at Hoptel. Hoptel is a private application we used to pay this thing. Look at how much you are paying for Hoptel. Is that a good policy? Is it a good policy? It means that most of your policies were look at free, what do you call it, frontiers health services made billions of dollars. Is that how we should be treating the Ghanaians? Even in terms of profit,
the one at the airport.
at the airport.
Yeah.
Look at what happened. None of the ministers could tell us that company who brought it. None of them. You know, it got to something. They said they should wait for Ken Oforiatta to come, because the minister for what do you call it, transport could not tell, procurement minister could not tell, no one could tell, minister of health could not tell, no one could tell how they got themselves here. Then we say, okay, for Ken Oforiatta, he doesn't lie. When he comes back, we know the one who brought it. Ken Oforiatta came, he too, he doesn't know. Is that how to run a government? To fleece these things for foreign companies and so on. Right. Look at the Al Jazeera goal by Alistair Matthias. It was a stinker. It was a satire.
They said they were going to sue if they didn't approve.
It was a satire on the presidency. They wanted to see, and Al Jazeera told them that they still hold on their farm, because they contacted them before they did the publication, and they should go on and sue them. Up to today, do we want a government that goes and that was internationally scandalized, that they were a conduit through which resources belonging to this government was being fleeced out by illegal people? When we reported the gold at the time, remember, the Indians came and said, no, they bought more gold than what we are reporting and so on. So if the gold board has come, even as a policy, what does it do? It blocked the leakages. All these conduits has been blocked. Let us begin to look at what this can do, so that we take advantage, so that by the time the city will depreciate again, we are already there. We would have acquired what we want to acquire before. Right. For me, I think that Bawumia should stop talking. Right. He's not helping himself.
All right, thank you very much. Good morning, sir. The city's stability is not by chance or accident, but by fiscal discipline and prudent management, not the trade war. Why are the SA Rand and Naira nose diving in spite of the trade war? We had gold for oil, yet Ghana was epic and bankrupt under MPP. What MPP couldn't do in 8 years, JM has done in 120 days, even better. We can't take moral lessons from MPP after looting and giving us pension head cuts, kinky parties, polluted water bodies, ghost names, missing containers to create doomsor and to destabilize the state. NPP never again. Ken Williams sent this one. When has Bawumia become an economist again? I thought he was a digital man. Okay, thank you. Good morning, Bless. All your panelists. Good morning, Bless. And to all your panelists. It's Afenyo Markin who asked people to be dancing at the vetting committee. Was he Afenyo Markin asked to dance when he was being vetted? Shame on to him. He's just an arrogant man in parliament. Everyone has now realized that Afenyo is just causing distortion in parliament. From Tola in Tamale. Thank you, Tola, for your message. This one here also says, okay, let me see if I can get onto it. Said, good morning, Pan-African TV. It appears some people feel uncomfortable with the appreciation of Ghana, of the Ghana cedi against the major currencies, instead of being happy with the situation as Ghanaians. Is it the case that it is exposing false economists and their bizarre economic theories? Whether the appreciation of the cedi is due to external factors or prudent economic measures, I think it's time. I think time will be the best judge. Uncle Gabi, I'll read this final one. It says, MPP should do the needful to advise Afenyo Markin to stop embarrassing himself. I think I've already done this message. Let me proceed to this one. To be very frank and candid, it's evident that some Ghanaian judicial officials, other technocrats and bureaucrats in public and civil servants are cynical and selfish, most committed to social meritocracy rather than dispensing holistic social democracy in Ghana. For it's evident that only the minority patricians who get insulated from legal impunity when found guilty by law. Okay, this I don't know if it is related to the topic we are discussing. I don't think so, but this is where time would permit me to end today's conversation. Thank you so much, Mr. Philip Langdon. Thank you, Honorable Timothy Awuntiri Matabwade. Thank you, Professor Isaac Boedi of the University of Professional Studies. It's been a very insightful conversation here on the show. I'm sure
our viewers have enjoyed it as much as I have. Thank you to all of you who watched on Facebook and on YouTube. We had massive numbers on YouTube. Thank you so much for your time this morning. I'll see you tomorrow. Until then, do have a pleasant morning. Bye-bye.